Now, the current migrant crisis is clearly the worst the world has experienced since the end of World War II. And according to the International Organization for Migration, the problem is not with the numbers, but with the system.
So it is a complex crisis, but certainly is not the worst. In the past, we've been dealing with crisis, and we also had to find solutions for this crisis. I think what here is the crux of the problem is that we do not foresee solutions. It's not so much a crisis of numbers, it's a crisis of the system. Is the asylum system, if you like, is the migration management system, if you like, that is being challenged, are not the migrants the challenge. The challenge is our capacity to have a workable system.
Indeed, there's a problem with the system, particularly what to do with the migrants when they finally arrive at their destination countries. The same challenge was faced back in 1988 by this Ethiopian Fitsum Alemu, an asylum seeker turned private attorney, after having fled his home country due to crisis.
You know, that time when I left Ethiopia in 1988, there was a war, and there were a lot of problems in the country. Young men like me were forcefully conscripted to the army. I was afraid that one day I'd either be forcefully conscripted or would have a problem with the government and being arrested. So my motive was to leave the country by any means necessary.
Nothing worthwhile fell on Fitsum's lap. It was a pretty lengthy process.
And I applied for a government scholarship. I won that and went to Hungary to study. I decided to apply for asylum here. I did get my asylum, but couldn't get a job, even though I had 3 degrees at that time. For some employers, I was overqualified. For some, I was less qualified. In any case, I couldn't find a job as a lawyer.
Even though he couldn't find a job, Fitsum was determined to be an asset.
I ended up doing a lot of things. I used to interpret, translate in offices. I decided to work as a parking attendant part-time. So trying to cover my bills.
It took him 15 years to fulfill his dream of becoming a lawyer, but despite his challenges, he deems the results worth the wait. While the International Organization for Migration has some advice for how to deal with the migrant crisis,
it is something that requires a much broader approach. There are 28 countries in the European Union. There are other countries that can lend their support, including the US, Canada, and others. So it does require a comprehensive plan of action.
Fitsum has some advice for the migrants about what to expect when they are accepted into their destination countries.
If the person who left the country has no skills, then it'd be difficult for him. But my advice for the individual is to prepare for the worst, to be mentally strong, and to not be frustrated because of the first or the 2-year experience that you'll encounter. I didn't want to